At InDigital, we know that public safety professionals hold themselves to a high standard. In fact, standard doesn't do it justice. In over 25 years working alongside you, carrying millions of calls over our IP networks, your dedication has inspired us. That's why our ESI Net goes beyond industry standards, not only i3 compliant, but designed to adapt to future development for a network you can count on when it matters most. Learn more at indigital.net.
Rapid Deploy is the CAD of the future. It's cloud-aided dispatch, not dinosaur computer-aided dispatch that looks like it was built in the 1980s. Rapid Deploy's cloud-native CAD, mapping, and analytics increase situational awareness for call takers, dispatchers, and responders. Rapid Deploy is taking public safety by storm. It's fast and easy to deploy, with implementation in days, not years. It's affordable for all agencies of all sizes. Rich in features, functionality, and data, it's also reliable and secure as we use Microsoft Azure Government Cloud. Go to rapiddeploy.com to learn more.
If Within the Trenches has ever taught you something, open your eyes to what it is like to be a 911 dispatcher, or has inspired you to become one, then help support us and join our Patreon. Get exclusive bonus content, one-of-a-kind swag, discounts on merchandise, ad-free early access to new episodes, and much more. To join, please visit patreon.com/WTT podcast. And if you're an industry partner, we have something for you as well. And now, for the show.
This is Jordan, and you're listening to the Code 7 Podcast Network.
Warning. This episode contains the 3 A's of podcasting: adult content, adult language, and awesomeness. You've been warned.
Welcome to Within the Trenches, true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them.
Good afternoon and welcome everyone to Within the Trenches podcast. This is going to be episode 394, and that is true stories from the 911 dispatchers who live them. This episode is sponsored by InDigital as well as Rapid Deploy, and we're here live. We're here live at the 2021 IAED Navigator Conference. Thank you so very much once again to the IAED for hosting us, for hosting the podcast. This is the 4th or 5th year now, and it has been awesome ever since. So thank you so very much. And we're here at booth 412. Also, a big shout out to our sponsors InDigital as well as Rapid Deploy, and to all the patrons of the podcast. I wouldn't be able to do what I do if it isn't, or if it wasn't for all of you and everything that you do, and also all of you who watch, listen, share, and support. And I'm looking down at my computer, but my camera's over there, so I can. It's messing me up already. So funny. But this is good. This has been excellent. We're here. We're back with a bunch of different people, and I've got my guest today here, and his name is Ryan, and he is an emergency communications officer as well as an EMDQ out of Meridian, Idaho, and that is Idaho State Communications Center. How's it going, man?
Good. Thank you for having me.
This is going to be an interesting story because we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, and immediately, the gentleman who was with you was like, "You've got to tell this. You've got to say it."
So, yeah, the gentleman yesterday is my coworker Bryant, also with me, and Shane, who's my fellow EMDQ. He's the head Q. It affected them the most at our center. They were the only two working. So I don't know where you want me to start in the timeline. You want me to start?
Yeah, let's start actually. Let's go to the beginning.
The beginning, okay.
Yeah, so, how did you start in public safety to begin with? Because we talked a little bit beforehand, and you said you've been doing this for about 10 years now. So how did you get involved to begin with in public safety? How did you jump in?
Well, I'm a law enforcement family. So my grandpa, my great-grandpa, my grandpa, my uncle, all LA County Sheriff. My mom was a dispatcher at Redlands Police Department. I became hanging around the police department so much. It was kind of fortuitous to end up there in that they were implementing a new camera system, and I play video games. That's literally, it's the weirdest dispatch segue. I love playing video games.
Yeah.
And they implemented this new camera system in the city, and I was so good at using it. And I grew up, born and raised in the city, that the chief saw how good I was at following, tracking vehicles, tracking pedestrians. Kind of a Big Brother-esque type deal, but this was, very, I'd have to say, trial software. I mean, this was, you couldn't see, it was real grainy, that sort of thing. It just so happened that my mom was beta testing the software in the dispatch center. So the dispatchers were going to be able to use it to, let's say, see an accident. Well, my mom, I go to visit at work, probably asking, for something, because she's my mom. I end up seeing a guy walk out of the back of a bar and stumble into a fence. And I'm of drinking age. So I say, oh, I know exactly where that is. It's behind the Flamingo. And she goes, okay. And I say, he's obviously drunk and he's looking for his car keys. This is my intro story.
Yeah.
So we follow him to his truck. It's all public view. I mean, the camera systems were set up in a way where you couldn't see anybody's backyards or anything like that. It was all just downtown. And I watched him stumble, drop the keys, stumble multiple times, and get in a car. They ended up using my video. We ended up following him. So I was like, this camera's going to be next. You're going to want to frame it up here. I was all about framing. I've always loved videography.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you're going to want to pull out from that intersection because he's going to come right and either go left or straight or right. You want to see where he's going to go and what the next camera will be. So long story short, they get an officer there within 4 minutes. It takes them 3 minutes to get into the car. So it was really a really quick stop. They use it as PC to pull him over, and he is well above the limit. And so the chief ends up saying, well, you're good at this. Do you want to try doing this part-time? Sure. So I'm in the dispatch center. I've always loved being in the dispatch center with my mom. Always found it so interesting. So I just worked my way up. I showed ambition. I wanted to become a police dispatcher. And then I realized that medical was more of my forte.
Yeah.
I found more... everybody's different. Everybody has different taste. I found more reward to me in my own personal life in helping the medical cause. And so I looked for agencies that do only medical or medical and fire is usually what we had around us. And I ended up at American Medical Response, huge Southern California agency. Multi-state agency, but they were big in Southern California.
Yeah.
And that's where I got my roots. That's where I got my training. That's where it all began.
Oh, man.
So,
you hopped in an interesting way.
Yeah. I came in just playing video games.
Right.
And I watching the dispatchers. On my wedding day, my lieutenant who was in dispatch actually said, hey, I didn't ask. I signed you up for the dispatch course. Do you want to be a dispatcher? It was on my wedding day. So this is kind of my whole life is dispatching.
Wow. So, okay. So you straight up, you come from a straight up public safety family. Like every.
And I married a fire family.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. Oh, man. So, so you've got, the disciplines of public safety there and all. You showed ambition, as you said, and you continued on. So before you ended up going into like the like AMR, the medical part, and all of that, I mean, what was that like going in? I mean, there was a change, right? And were you doing kind of like the surveillance stuff first before the actual dispatching, or how did that part work there?
Yeah, so I did a year of video surveillance part time. And then as I went through the academy, the standard post academy for Redlands, which that's what they signed me up for on my wedding day, my lieutenant, eased me in, started shadowing shifts. So it was kind of the most unique story that I've ever tried or had people do. It's kind of like a sit-in where you work.
Right.
I'm working part-time, and then on my off hours, I'm hanging out with people that I'm already in the room with and I'm friends with. So it really helped me in my career. To all the people that wanted to be dispatchers, I've always said, go sit down, go to your local center and just ask. Say, hey, I'm interested in being a dispatcher, and see what it's like. Because you don't know until you pick up that first call whether it's for you or not. I mean, in my opinion.
No, you're right. You're completely right, because there's a lot of people who end up coming into this profession, especially if they're from other disciplines of public safety, thinking all we do is answer the phone. Like, I've got this. But then they take that first call, and a lot of them end up leaving because it's not what they thought. And so an interesting dynamic for you, though, is that, your mom was a dispatcher as well. So was there ever, conversation or anything like?
She kept a lot of it to herself.
Yeah.
Really, it was the old mentality of tough, strong, don't talk about it.
Right.
So I don't really know what she does. Working so close, and I had multiple cases that went to court based on my video. And so I had to go in with the dispatcher, with the trooper, or with the police officer at the time. I got to work really closely with them and learn what they do. So, like I said, it was a constant sit-in. And I was like, wow, they're having way more fun than I am. I mean, I love video games, but that's more fun.
Right.
Talking to people, helping people. And that was really the drive, was they are helping people every single time and getting paid for it.
What was your so every person that I've spoken to, it seems like there is a almost like an aha moment where, whether it be an incident that happened, a phone call that they took, or a coworker or a trainer, something that happened where they realized, or it just solidified, that job was their calling, like it was meant for them. Did you ever have one of those moments?
Yeah, mine was medical. Mine was medical. Staying on the line, our agency at the time transferred all medical and fire to another center. So we only handled police. And if you're listening from a police agency, if you only do police, the dispatchers only get yelled at. That's how I felt, at least. I felt like I was forever getting yelled at. And I was transferring all the calls that people actually wanted help, not just to complain, or not just there's the few and far between of you're truly saving a life as the first responder. Because I truly believe a dispatcher is the first responder.
Right there with you.
But yeah, the call that stands out to me is staying on the line because of scene safety issues. We have to get an officer on scene first. And then hearing all of the medical guidelines and working with that agency to, I don't want to give specific details about the call, but working with the agents, the fire dispatcher. I'm just staying on the line. I'm just sitting there listening. My partner's dispatching the call out. I'm typing stuff in as it's coming in, because I don't want them to know that officers are coming. It's an assault call.
Right.
It's a domestic with weapons. So getting officers on scene first and then medical right after, that was my aha moment. Like, that was awesome. When everything just works perfect.
Right. Yes.
When it all flows in multiple agencies, in different centers, in different rooms, and everything, boom, boom. And we have it all on camera, most of it. I mean, we have them all responding right behind each other. And then, fire and EMS are staging out. We can see them and we can see the house, but the house is off in the distance. Our cameras don't go into neighborhoods. So, you can see the officers go on scene, and then we have the radio call. So I'm in it all. And that was my aha call.
Oh, man. That is awesome. Because
it was cool. It was a cool experience.
When it happens, it's like you're saying, It's like the planets align.
Yes.
For that one moment, and just that feeling of accomplishment. Everyone working like a well-oiled machine. You're going through, and it's just happening and happening and happening, and then you end up getting to the point where at the end of the call, you're like, "Damn, we just did that.
We are awesome."
Yeah, we just did that.
Yep.
What was it like for you when you made your transition and you were walking into doing medicals and really starting that training? So you're doing surveillance, right? Then you make your switch over. Was it overwhelming at all at any time, or was it just a lot of adrenaline and you were just ready to go?
It was a younger me.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the courage to jump like I did.
Yeah.
My wife was very supportive.
Uh-huh.
She basically said, "Go do it." Going over to the AMR side.
Yeah.
I loved the fact that even then, I've been very fortuitous in the fact that I've been eased in. I've never had an abrupt Shark Tank moment where you sink or swim,
right?
And there's sharks in the water.
Yeah.
I started at AMR where you don't take the EMDs or the emergency medical dispatches.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, I don't have to directly talk to the caller. Again, that same agency that we used to transfer our fire and medical to would EMD the call and come up with the code. And I started out just dispatching ambulances. And that was like playing chess. It was putting pieces here, putting different posting plans depending on unit availability.
Right.
And that was fun. And then I realized I'm not helping anybody other than getting him a truck. That's all I was doing.
And you wanted more. You wanted to continue
I crave
to do more.
That's my life. I crave more. That's how I ended up here at Navigator. I want to step up each stage of my life.
Dude, it's inspiring though. That's the kind of stuff that I love to hear. Those who are, kind of taking control of it and not wanting to settle.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to just roll over, right? It's easy to just roll over, settle, and just be like, all right, I guess this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to just continue doing this. But no, then there's others who are like, no, man, I want more. I want to keep learning more and, teaching more or whichever. And that's obviously what you were doing. And you continued on. So how about your training then? What was the training like? For those because there's a lot of people who listen to the podcast as well that are out of the general public for just doing medicals. What type of training goes into that? And big props to you for doing straight up medicals, because my favorite calls were like on the radio. Like I enjoy taking 911 calls as well, but man, some of those medicals were pretty hardcore. Like I remember having a lady call in because her kid was choking like on a hard candy or something, but all you can hear is like her slapping his back like crazy. And I'm going through my protocol. I'm like, don't hit him on the back. It's going to make it worse than what it is. Going down the line the way it says. And I remember her saying, "What the F am I supposed to do? You want to just die or something like that?" I'm like, "No, I want you to listen to what I'm doing." So medicals like that, just over and over and over, man. That's why I say I commend you, because I don't know that I could do medicals all day, every day.
Well, here's what it is. I heard them being done correctly before I had to do them. So taking a class, the EMD course, cut and dry. You say this, you don't say this. You do this, you don't do this. You can give these instructions, you can't give these instructions. Implementing that and taking your first live call to anybody out there, I don't know a single dispatcher that can say their first call was awesome,
right?
Was amazing, was the best call they've ever done. The first call is terrifying. It is you're hesitant, you're slow, you're clunky, and you feel like a complete idiot, or I did at least.
Yeah, no, because you want to do a good job, right?
Yeah,
that's why all of that is in your head while you're trying to think about, okay, you got the next call. You're like, oh, okay, what am I going to say?
And all the trainer's doing is it plugged in. They're not even in a keyboard.
Yeah, they've got the umbilical cord
Yep.
on that they're listening. And so all of those things are going through your head. But so then, do you remember your first call then, or maybe some earlier calls?
So I remember some early calls. I started off my career again in medical, only dispatching ambulances. I had to be EMD certified, so I had the card set. I had all of the classes. I had all the academy. I had the continuing education units. I did that for 2 years without ever taking a 911 call. So no medical calls, just moving units around.
Did you say 2 years?
2 years.
What? Man, I would have been restless as well. I'd be like,
Well,
give me a call.
I did see what was nice about that was I was learning different areas. I was learning how medics talk versus how firefighters talk. I grew up with police. So some people may think, oh, that's easy. I went the step further. You know what I mean? I love talking to people. That's why I'm here. This is my first ever podcast or interview. I love talking, and that's why I got a job that all I do is talk. I talk to people.
You get paid and you get to help them.
Oh, yeah. And so one of my first calls that I can remember that was good. let's start it with that.
Yeah.
The first live calls were very robotic, follow the language. And then I had a great mentor who's here with me, who's now my fellow Q. He came from a high volume agency of medical, police, and fire back east. And I'm forgetting the state right now. But Shane walked me step by step, had me listen to my own voice, which I don't like. I don't like hearing myself. And he pointed out things that I said. I say okay a lot to the patients. It's not in the script anywhere. It's not on protocol anywhere to say okay.
Right.
But when they answer a question, it's kind of like a checkbox. Okay. Next.
Yeah.
Okay. Next. And he goes, that's going to get really annoying. Like that could frustrate somebody. So, there was a lot of those tweaks.
Yeah.
First call that I can truly say I did on my own.
Yeah.
Awesome. I was the EMD of, I'm in Idaho now. So I moved to Idaho. We're dispatching rural EMS. So all the agencies that don't have the resources or the staffing to have a communications center, we handle their emergency medical dispatch coding. They have volunteer ambulances. Sometimes it's just a quick response unit, which, for those who don't know, is just a truck with some basic medical gear on it that can, plug a hole or tie something off.
Yeah.
They can't give fluids. They can't even transport, and they wait for a helicopter. That's how rural we are.
Dang.
So, yeah, it's pretty crazy.
I can't even imagine some of the calls that would actually, they would come in, and the wait time alone, because a lot of times, almost all the time, when you're taking a phone call, you're on the phone with them until help gets there.
Yep.
So, in an area like that, like what is the time?
The dynamics are pretty amazing. So, the calls that mandate staying on the line, stay on the line. Unstable caller, you stay on the line with them. As far as dispatching, talking to the caller and having a unit respond with, let's say, a 45-minute response time is a 9-minute helicopter flight. It's a little bit different than in the city where your response times are mandated by the county to be under 9 minutes and 59 seconds.
Oh, right. Yes.
So we don't have mandated response times. They're volunteer. We're lucky that they're going.
That's true. That is very true.
We are blessed, and I am a big. My personal story is a big shout out, a big thank you to those volunteer first responders. If not for them, I wouldn't be here talking to you.
Yes.
So, My call. I keep getting sidetracked. I apologize.
No. This is good. And this is what that I want to hear as well. To find out more about how, how you got started. The training and everything to it, because everyone has a unique story that comes into how they got into dispatch. Yours, it's a one that I literally every discipline of public safety, and your mom being a dispatcher and everything. You going into it just video game style.
Yeah, exactly. I love it, and that's why I love saying it. I love promoting the fact that it's not one person. It's not one personality type.
Right.
It's a passion.
Exactly. Yes, and that is that's another thing that sometimes people don't understand. But the calling, that right there, you explained it perfectly, and. I'm sorry. I just chuckled because I think about you sitting there watching these cameras and just playing all of this out, and then they're like, "Do you want a job, dude? Like you did pretty good. Like
much better pay than I was making, which is great.
Yeah,
I mean that's a bonus.
And then it evolved.
Yeah.
And it evolved, and you found what you really, really wanted to do. You're taking all these medical calls and everything, and. Man, so you've been doing this for 10 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you had an incident then that happened.
Yes.
Because you just kind of mentioned it here a little bit as well, that you were saved. Those that you work with saved you as well.
Yes.
So what exactly happened? Because you are definitely entrenched in public safety. You have a love for it. You have a passion for it. I can see it and hear it in you as you're talking about it. But even more so because something happened.
Yes.
and you are here. You are thoroughly grateful for being here right now and experiencing everything you're experiencing. So what exactly happened? What happened? How long ago did it happen? And definitely, I'm so happy that you're here and glad that you're here.
So in 2018,
yes,
I'm working for Idaho State Communications Center.
Mm-hmm.
I get the privilege. They only pick a couple people to go out to different events. We work under the EMS Bureau for the state because we dispatch so many different rural agencies
mm-hmm.
that the umbrella is the state. So it's a state-owned agency. I got to go out to a conference, an EMS conference, which for a lot of our rural EMS is their only way that they can get continuing education in person. They don't have, it's a 13-hour drive to Vegas.
Yep.
For just me. And
yeah.
The event Grangeville, Idaho, where I was at, is pretty remote. I mean, it was at a high school is where the event was. 2 hours from the closest real STEMI center, which for those of you who don't know, a cardiac heart-related hospital, heart center. And I went to the conference, and I was there taking pictures, handing out flyers for the bureau, meeting people, doing vendor networking, and just talking to people. I love all of the first responders. They're my guys. Half of them there I dispatch for. So they came up for their CEs. It was in a breakout session, so they were in class, and the vendors are in the vendor hall, which is just the hallway. And I'm standing next to a vendor. His name's Pete, and hopefully he listens to this because he's one of my favorite people because he's a key element to how funny the story is. I don't want to make light of the situation, but I have to for my own psyche.
Right. Yeah, of course.
I was talking to Pete about Alaskan salmon fishing. I mean, that's how related to EMS we were talking about. I had just met him, and he was so passionate about it, and I'm interested. I love talking, so I'm talking about Alaska salmon fishing. I have no clue about Alaska, so we're talking about that. I felt my heart stop. Let me give a little backstory.
Okay. I was like, okay, wait, hold on a minute here.
I was born with a congenital heart defect.
Okay.
In April of 99, I had a Ross procedure, which is 2 valve replacements, and they did an emergency bypass. That was when I was 15. That was repair surgery, so I was supposed to be good. Fast forward to Grangeville EMS conference, I feel fine. No chest pain, no difficulty breathing, all of the signs of a cardiac arrest. All of a sudden, I feel a thump in my chest. Doesn't hurt. There's no discomfort. I have enough blood in my head, is what I've come to formulate, that I can look down, and I tried to look at Pete, who was standing to my right.
Yeah.
Now, for those of you who are on the video, I have a scar right above my head. I looked down at a cement floor.
Oh, no.
That's all I remember. I then had my eyes open, felt like water was in my eyes, people all around me. Turns out I had what's called the widowmaker, which is the artery, I think it's the aortic artery that runs behind the heart, that supplies blood to the heart, is the one that they bypassed in 99. They left a 90-degree angle in. Now, I'm not going to fault them for that. It was just how it ended up healing. It's really hard to see. They call it the widowmakers because when they're doing an ultrasound on your heart, it's really hard to see if there's anything wrong with that particular. They look downstream. They look at stuff that it would affect. Heart muscle. Heart muscle looks fine, so it must be getting adequate blood flow.
Yeah.
It turns out I was building calcium quicker than normal because of that 90-degree kink.
Oh, jeez.
And so it just one day plugged up, just done. So I look down, I wake up. This is the story from the other side. I fall down, and everybody thinks that I have, because there was demonstration products all around.
Yeah.
One of the paramedics that was there with me, I was surrounded by a flight nurse, a flight medic, the emergency medical director, multiple vendors who are all firefighters or medics or nurses. They're all in the emergency field. They're not expecting this, though. An emergency in the middle of the vendor hall.
Right.
So they think I tried on, there's this new technology. It's a neck brace, a neck immobilizer.
Yeah.
It's inflatable. So it's a one-person, you put it on, you pump it up, it stabilizes the neck perfect, and then they can move on.
So they think that you tried to
they thought I put it on too tight and passed out.
Oh, no.
So he screams, "Can you get the neck brace off him?" They flip me over and notice there's no neck brace. One of them knows my heart history.
Yeah.
My coworkers I've talked about, having heart problems forever. And they check. First they do is check pulse, check pulse, check breathing, nothing. They immediately start CPR. One person puts themselves in charge. Again, this is trainers of the trainers.
Yeah.
This is upper echelon. They call in. They want an air med. They want the next available ambulance. And where's the AED? Where's the shock box? That was the hardest part for them. That's not a bad situation for a cardiac arrest patient, is which 4 ambulances that we have on display has the most charged AED.
Right.
It turns out the closest one was in the gym where everybody was, so it kind of freaked everybody out. That was fun. I wouldn't know, but I heard it was fun.
I was going to say, yeah, you were passed out.
So less than a minute from when I hit the ground, I was flipped over, checked pulse, checked breathing, instantly started compressions first, CPR, because I knew it was a blood flow issue.
Yeah.
And they shocked me back in less than a minute. It took 2 shots.
Jeez.
They got me back. Now, my director, who I hope watches this as well, that was the first save he's seen. He's been EMT, medic, worked his way up, through the ranks, through the state, ended up as the director in the emergency for the state of Idaho, for the EMS Bureau. And I'm the first save that he's seen live.
Jeez.
I know. All right, so it gets even more fun.
What?
So
It doesn't stop?
no. This is why my coworkers talked me into this.
Oh, man. Okay.
It's so much, and I'm kind of all over the place, so I apologize. But
No. This is good. I keep picturing this happening, but also thinking that this was the best place for it to happen, to be at an expo like that.
So that's a great point. An hour before, I was in a hotel room by myself.
Oh,
If we had not changed time zones, Idaho's a 2 time zone state.
Uh-huh.
We went up north and we changed to Pacific time. So I was, ahead an hour. If I didn't have that hour, I would have been in my hotel room.
Holy crap.
So, they would have said, "Oh, Ryan slept in. He must be doing his own thing today." Because I'm not there to do anything specific other than to put on a good image for the Bureau, for State Com,
Right.
to meet and greet, to network. So, it an hour later, because I'm so intrigued by the medical field,
Yeah.
I was going to go on a site visit for a rural EMS agency. A site visit in Idaho means we hop in a 4x4 and we go up and to the little towns that have, maybe one ambulance or one rig, 2 responders, 3 responders maybe if one gets sick. And they respond for their whole area. And, people live 20, 30 acres out from each other. I mean, you can't see your neighbors. So we were going to go up with supplies from the state to restock them. See what they have, restock their ambulance, make sure everything's up to date, if not replace it. So an hour later, I would have been alone, but not alone. I would have been in a car with just one person. I fell down in a hallway full of probably 30 people, 8 of which hopped on me. So that's what happened for me at that time. So yes, timing was everything with me.
Holy crap, man.
Turns out Life Flight, I'm going to be giving a big shout out to Life Flight Network. They had a helicopter there doing a PR flight for the EMS conference. They were on the ground, crews ready to fly. It took them longer to check my head because I cracked my head open on the cement than it was to get in the helicopter to go to Lewiston, where on a Saturday they had not 1 but 2 cardiologists.
What?
Yes.
Did you play the lottery or something after
I
that?
tried, and you know what? The reason I still buy the $1 ticket, I don't buy the multiplier, but I don't want to use my luck.
Yeah.
I think I've used all of it, and I've got a 5-year-old daughter and a baby boy on the way. All right, I'm going to play the lottery for them, but I'm going to keep my luck.
Right. Yes. Man, you're like a cat. You got a bunch of lives.
Oh man. So I go down. I know I'm kind of backtracking a little bit. The first thing my bureau chief does is call my boss, Michelle. And I love Michelle. She knows the direct numbers to my family, not by heart, but knows that we have a book in dispatch.
Yeah.
My 2 partners I'm here with today were the 2 dispatchers on duty, and their job was to find that emergency contact book. So I hit the ground. My director calls my boss calls into dispatch finds my wife's number. My wife doesn't pick up. She's at my in-laws, thank goodness.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, I married a fire family. My second emergency contact, because they're in the area, is my father-in-law. Calm, cool, collected. I swear you could not scare him with anything. I mean, he's seen everything. He's a retired fire captain, Orange County Fire. I think 35 years. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I went to his retirement.
Sorry.
I went to his retirement party. It was amazing. This is another luck story. When they got me turned over, because my wife didn't pick up, they moved on to my father-in-law's contact.
Yeah.
By the time they got to my father-in-law and him picking up the phone, they had shocked me back. So instead of calling and saying, hey, Ryan's down, doesn't look like he's going to make it, it's, hey, Ryan had an incident, he's awake, we're taking him here. So it's a little softer blow.
Yeah.
Plus, I have my father-in-law, okay, we'll be on our way. Calm. My daughter is, maybe she was a year. So maybe almost 2. Doesn't know what's going on. My in-laws have a puppy. They throw the dog and the baby in the car with my wife, and they start driving. By the time that they get to the hospital, I'm already out of the cath lab. 2 doctors it took, 1 in through my leg. He has enough humility. Thank God for this cardiac surgeon in Lewiston. He has enough humility to say, this patient is a pain in the butt. I need help. And there's another cardiologist that is their staff, not just the on-call, but there's another cardiologist. I mean, staffing doesn't work like that in hospitals.
Right.
They may have 1 emergency cardiologist on call, not at the hospital. But I had 2 at the hospital. It's a Saturday.
Yeah, of all things, too. Yeah.
So, total time from when I hit the ground to when I had my artery back open with the cardiac catheter, the balloon, they call it the golden hour, where your survival rate goes from 95% to 5%. The difference is 48 minutes. And that is my success story. And it's all due to me having to go out to the rural EMS. And I have to give a shout out to those rural EMS who take the time. They work their normal 9 to 5s, or they're in Idaho, they're out working fields or their crops. And then at night, they have a radio on their bedside. And they respond to the ambulance shed, and then they go out and they run all sorts of calls. And Idaho is very recreational. We have a lot of rural accidents. The side-by-side, I love them. But they are involved in all sorts of incidents. I'm not going to talk bad about a side-by-side that I love. I won't name any brands or anything.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of those in Idaho.
Dude.
And we're in the 100 deadliest days of summer right now as of July 13th. So it's crazy. And that's what is so unique about it. One, I'm in Idaho, so every call that comes in is different.
Yeah.
I've gone from very specific video game knowledge, that's it, to now I work at Idaho State Communications, where we work with all of the different dynamics of rural EMS. We go from desert landscape to super mountainous terrain. We have all the seasons.
Yeah.
So we have fire season and snow season. I mean, those are our 2 biggest hurdles, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. When I was living in Michigan, one of our seasons was construction season.
Oh, yeah, that's summer. Yeah, that is construction season.
Oh, man.
When all the roads are just stopped.
Yes.
Because they're all dug up, half of them, and then they put all the traffic in one lane. Yeah.
Do you remember anything when you came to? Like when they shocked you back? Like, was it like, oh, hey, why am I down here?
You know what?
What's going on?
I don't want to get religious on this podcast, but I truly believe that I was saved from all of the pain. I at first, so when I woke up, when I opened my eyes, because it was like a blink for me.
Yeah.
Less than a minute, which is pretty quick. It was like a blink for me. I was pissed. Because I didn't know what happened. Like, why is somebody pouring water on my head? It's my own blood. Why is somebody pouring water on my head? Why are you all looking at me? Why is there lights in my eyes?
Right.
I was just mad. And then they said, Ryan, you're having a heart attack. No, you're in cardiac arrest. No, I'm not.
Right.
And
I know my
it wasn't a mean, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
It was I don't have time for this. I got stuff to do. And then when they said, okay, we're going to take you to the hospital. Oh, no. I just paid for we were having a like ballroom dance type deal at the end. We had to pay for the dinner. I just paid for the dinner, which I never got comp for, by the way. I never got my money back on the dinner.
Oh, that's funny.
So yeah, it was funny. I wasn't combative. I was sassy. I would say a little
I like
argumentative.
that, sassy.
I mean, there's no. I don't think there's a better word for it.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
I wasn't pissed. I mean, things happen. I'm on the floor for some reason, but not heart attack. My heart's fine. I got it fixed.
Dude,
so, yeah,
that's a crazy story.
4 stints later. So yeah, the dispatchers. It took one dispatcher though to get, all the information came into them of what happened at the incident, and that dispatcher coordinated the life flight, the ambulance. Because I went to in Grangeville, there's Syringa Hospital.
Okay.
They did a quick MRI, so they actually had to transport me farther away from the helicopter and then transport me back. So
So what was it like for them? What was it like for the dispatchers who were working this? I mean, did they know that it was you right away, or?
So this was up in northern Idaho, and Grangeville, they have their own. So we don't directly dispatch them. Just a lot of the attendees of the conference were my guys.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So it would be really interesting, and it's part of my ongoing, I guess, relief of the trauma that goes with that sort of incident. Realizing I'm a survivor of a very low percentile. I'm in. People talk about the 1%. 1 to 3%, I believe, actually walk out of the hospital of out of hospital cardiac arrests. I don't know the exact stat, and I could be wrong, but I think I'm close.
It makes me think of a stat that I was given when I very first started dispatching, and this was like 2001. It's probably completely different now, but
hopefully we've gotten better.
Yeah, exactly. But I remember I was told by a paramedic there. He said that if you're giving CPR instructions, there's a 5% chance that they make it back.
Yeah, and that's
always stuck with me.
Maybe that's what I meant by the 95.5.
Yeah, okay.
Like I am the 5% that was resuscitated, and that was because of the quick action of the knowledgeable people I had around me. Had I been in the hotel room, I would have been just a regular 911 call. Jeez. I say just a regular 911 call. A 911 call with not a positive outcome.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So your story kind of reminds me a little bit of this. It was a good friend of mine. We're still good friends, but he wasn't out of dispatch. He was a K-9 officer, and he was working out with a couple other officers, and he went to do like a pull-up or something, and I remember they told me that they looked at his face and they said that his face was drooping on the left a little bit, and that someone just yelled out, "Dude, you're stroking out," and then he just fell over. Yep. And he, as well, he came back and all, but yours specifically, I mean,
what's that golden hour? So I did a lot of press with not press, but I did a lot of work with the American Heart Association, trying to get the word out there about CPR.
Yeah.
And how important it is, whether it be over the phone. You can't see how effective you're doing, but you can hear it.
Right.
When you're a dispatcher. Sometimes, hopefully. I mean, most of the time you're not going to, 95% of the time, you're not going to have a good outcome. 5%. Personally, I've had a few CPR calls. I have not had a rescue yet. And I've heard what I believe to be, because I wasn't on scene, but when the original caller calls in and I start giving them immediate CPR instructions, it seems to me that I'm giving effective instructions and they're providing effective CPR. 2 inches deep.
Right.
You can hear the sounds. I don't want to get too graphic, but CPR is not pretty.
No, it's not.
And my coworker Shane has got an award from the state for having one of the best I've ever heard saves.
Wow.
He had a positive outcome at one of the 5%. So
Do you feel like at all, and maybe not, but do you ever reflect on the situation and think that, maybe this also happened for a reason, because it would help you later on with either a situation that happened right in front of you or a situation over the phone? And I ask this because there's a lot of people that I've spoken to where they have said that there have been certain experiences in their life where later on they're able to call upon that experience to help them with that specific call. So for me, for example, I was having a lot of back issues and neck issues for a long time. I couldn't find any relief. Finally, I found relief through yoga. There was a lady who called one night, and she was tired with life. She wanted to kill herself. And she was dealing with the same types of pain that I was. So I took a shot, and I started telling her what worked for me. And we continued talking. And by the end of the call, when help got there, she said, thank you. And she said she didn't want to kill herself anymore, that she wanted to look into this type of, release of pain and all. And I feel like personally for me that had it been somebody else, not that the person might have actually gone through with it, but they might not have been able to relate to that person because they didn't have that same experience that I had. I already had been dealing with the same type of pain, so I was able to relate to her a lot better that way. So in comparison, thinking about this, do you feel like, and maybe you can say it from this standpoint as well, if you were to get a call, do you think you'd be able to call upon this situation, what you went through, what you've learned from other people who dealt with it with you and such, you'd be able to help them better than anybody else would because you've experienced something like this?
I multiple times have called upon this experience in the fact that in an empathetic role.
Yeah.
I provide calm reassurance to a patient. Again, we dispatch rural, so I have to stay on the phone with, sometimes a first party caller or sometimes husband or a wife, and their significant others having chest pain, or heart attack like symptoms. Those ones really do get to me.
Yeah.
We do all of them, but calling upon my experiences, I'm able to reflect on how it affected my family, the positive outcome I had, and knowing the different. It's hard to explain. It's hard to hear them at first, but it kicks in. It kicks in like, I want to help you, not just the cardiac patients more. It helped me throughout all of my calls. Later that year, after my cardiac arrest, after I'm going through rehab, I'm going to bring my boss flowers. This is how weird my life is. They're doing the critical incident stress debrief. They call them CISMs. It's critical incident stress management.
Of your incident?
They're doing it of my incident. All of the people that gave me CPR, my wife and daughter are with me. We're bringing my boss flowers because my boss, we put her through a heck of a time.
Yeah.
I showed up and everyone there had been up in Grangeville. Turns out I showed up to my own debrief with my wife and daughter.
God.
That doesn't happen.
No.
All I asked was, hey, Michelle, are you going to be in the office today? Because I was off. I was on medical leave doing cardiac rehab. And my wife and I was feeling better. Once they get the stints in, you feel great. You feel like, my daughter calls it Iron Man, but I felt
nice.
like Iron
Man. I like that.
I'm no Tony Stark, but I'm sure lucky. And I went to my own debrief, and I got to hear the different sides and their different emotions that we're going through. And so I relate every single one of those different emotions, and I try and use them in different ways through different calls, whether it be empathy or sorrow. Luckily, I haven't had to deal with many suicidal callers. My suicidal callers are overdoses. and they want help. Like not 2 weeks ago, we got one that was they were having a lot of fun and had too much fun, and were actually being responsible. Had one sober person in camp, and that sober person realized there was a problem, and the person, when you go through the protocols, was this accidental or intentional? Definitely intentional. We're having fun.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Is he violent? Nope. He wants help. We're going through all the different key questions, and it was very nice that I'm lucky in that way as well, that all of my callers that are on the downturn, on the downward slope, are wanting help. I haven't had a jumper, let's say, those saves to me, I still look up to. I mean,
Right.
Those are, if you're able to engage, use whatever resources, because at that point, all resources are open. I mean, if you want to tell them about how your left foot, turns 360 degrees, as long as it gets their mind off doing what they said they're intending to do,
Exactly.
that's our job.
Right.
And that is the best part of our job, when we have good outcomes like that. And a lot of them aren't. And that's why I really think, and I'm on a big push, I would say worldwide, just because I'm passionate and I have, these endless dreams, but I respect firefighters. I respect police officers. I heard in a class today, all of the political stuff that's going on right now, I'm not going to pick a side, but when you see somebody, an ambulance or a police car responding, how did they know to go there?
Right.
That was a point by one of my teachers. I can't take credit for that. But it was a dispatcher. Somebody called, the dispatcher picked up the phone, the first responder.
Right.
And I'm lucky enough to have been surrounded by first responders and first responders and everybody. And that's who you maintain your circle, and whether it be positive or negative, that's what dictates your life.
Dang. Man, it has been awesome to have you on this episode.
I appreciate it, man.
And share this and everything. As we go into the wrap-up of this episode, you have a lot of passion. I can, again, like I said earlier, I can hear it, I can see it. A lot of people end up eventually hitting a burnout stage. And I don't know if you've hit that stage at all or anything, but, with the passion that you have, again, as we go into the wrap-up of this episode, what kind of advice do you have for those who are getting to that point, who are looking to, kind of rekindle that passion? How do you keep that passion in a job that is so stressful and hard, such as this one?
Well, in my personal life, I've hit the wall, I think, 3 times. First time, just a camera operator. I was looked down on in dispatch. Mm-hmm. I was the kid in the corner that played video games. I wanted to be them. They didn't want me. I wanted to do what they were doing. It seemed more rewarding to help people.
Right.
So I'm done playing video games. I want to be a real adult. I want to, I have had many different careers or jobs. My career, my passion, my life right now for the foreseeable future, I've hit the brick wall and had to overcome it by finding, the way I do it is by finding a different way that I can implement the best of my attributes. So I started out in police, doing videos, became a dispatcher. Saw that I was only getting yelled at. It's a lot of 911 dispatchers that only do police. They sit there and they just collect a paycheck. And I'm not saying they're not doing their job. Mm-hmm. It's not rewarding for them.
Right.
So find something that is. Look into it. I've always been a big fan of go talk to somebody. Go see somebody talk to somebody that is either teaching or at a different level than you are, and see if you can beat that level. starts with the video games again. You got to beat the boss level.
Yeah, there's that competition.
Yeah.
There's always some healthy competition there and everything.
It's not that I want to beat anybody. I want to beat myself. I want to outdo myself.
Right.
And see how much further I can push myself. Sometimes I push it too hard and I go into sudden cardiac arrest. But then I get the one up on life and keep going.
Damn.
And that pushed me to become the EMDQ, which made me a better call taker, which brought me to navigator. So
here we are.
I mean, that's
the first full circle.
And now the sky's the limit. I mean, I may end up as director of IAD. I don't know.
Look out. That is awesome, man. It has been a pleasure and an honor to have you on here, Ryan, and to share your story, to learn more about you, how you got started. It's a crazy story.
It's fun.
But awesome. And you're doing it, you're sticking with it. Thank you so much for being on, man.
Well, thank you for what you do and getting these voices out here, because it really does mean a lot. If it touches one person to either do effective CPR or to get over the slump that they're in, just with my story, know that there's always something better to do, something more fun to do, and it is achievable. Because I am by no means an A student. It only takes drive. It doesn't take. You don't need the skill set right away. It takes just the drive to get the skill set. So I really do appreciate you having me on here and talking with me. And again, this has been a great day, great week. Navigator's awesome.
So enjoy the rest of it. It is going to be excellent. And for those who are watching right now, if you have any comments, questions, or you want to be a guest on the show, I'm going to throw this on the screen here really quick. You can email us, and that's going to be wttpodcast@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter. That is @91podcast. You can like us on Facebook. That is facebook.com/Within the Trenches Podcast. Again, a big shout out to the IAD and Navigator for hosting us here at booth 412. And a big shout out to our sponsors in digital as well as Rapid Deploy. Thank you so very much. And if you're looking for any bonus content, you can check us out and support us. And that's going to be patreon.com. That is /WTT Podcast. This can be seen on, let's see, there's a bunch of them, on YouTube, on Facebook, Twitter, as well as LinkedIn. And then you can listen 24/7 on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, your favorite podcasting app, and withinthetrenches.net. Have a good one, everyone, and we will see you in the next one.